Everyone, my name is Pavitran and these are my teammates Edwin Darshan, Novin Singh and Vishwa Krishna. Today we are going to present our case study regarding hardware, software and network troubleshooting. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the first problem in task A, which is an internet connection issue in computer 12. So there could be three symptoms why this happening. So first symptom is no internet access icon. So the so what is an internet no internet access icon is a yellow exclamation mark or a globe icon with a cross appears in the system tray while other lab computers connect normally. And the second symptom is request timed out. So when using the ping command, the terminal shows no response from the external network. And the last symptom is an IP configuration error. So the computer may show an auto configuration IPv4 address starting with 169.254xx, indicating it failed to receive a valid IP from the lab's DHCP server.
My name is Novin Singh and my metric number is 01 DIT25F2062. So next my presentation is that part A, problem 2, slow computer performance, computer 7. Okay, the symptom is that disk CPU usage. The task manager shows 100% disk or CPU utilization even when no heavy applications are active. The next extended boot time, the operating system takes several minutes to reach the desktop or login screen. Application lag. Software frequently displays not responding or freezes for several seconds during basic navigation.
Next, I will explain about problem 3, which is printer not detected on computer 15. So what's the problem in computer 15? The problem is computer 15 cannot detect the printer connected via USB. So our team has given a task to find out the system, that is task A. So the first symptom is known as unknown device error, where the Windows device manager shows the printer as an unknown USB device or displays a device descriptor request failed message. This means the system cannot properly identify the printer. For the second symptom, the printer appears to be offline in the devices and printers section. Even though it is connected, this indicates a communication problem between computer and the printer. And the third symptom is that there is no hardware detected. For the third symptom is that there is no hardware detection sound when the USB cable is plugged in. Normally the system should give a notification, but in this case there is no response. This problem usually happens due to corrupt or missing drives, faulty USB ports or damaged cables, which prevent the printer from being detected by the system.
So let's look at the fourth problem, which is the computer power failure. So first, let's look at the symptoms observed from this computer. So the first symptom is the immediate power off. When the system is turned on, the fan spins briefly, but the computer shuts down before the BIOS or operating system can load. So this indicates that the system is unable to sustain the power during the startup. So the second symptom is that it has a burning smell or high heat. Excessive heat is noticed near the power supply unit, or also called as PSU, or around the CPU vent just before the shutdown occurs. This suggests possible overheating or electrical failure. So the third symptom is that it has no post beeps. So usually when we start up our computer, it produces a single beep to indicate successful startup. However, in this case, there are no beeps, or sometimes an error beep code is heard before the system loses power. So this may indicate a hardware failure, especially related to the motherboard, RAM or power supply. So in conclusion, based on these symptoms, the issue on this computer is most likely related to a faulty power supply overheating components, or a motherboard failure. Thank you.
Now I'm going to talk about part B, which is standard troubleshooting process. So there are 6 steps involved, and I'm going to talk about the first step, which is identifying the problem. This is the first and most important step where the technician must clearly understand the issue before attempting any solution. The technician should gather as much information as possible by asking the user relevant questions, observing system behavior, and checking for any error messages, log, or warning alerts. So what should a technician do is ask question to the user such as when did the problem start? Observe symptoms such as slow systems, no internet or error pop-ups, and check logs, alert, or system notification. So, for example, if a computer cannot connect to the internet and the problem is not clearly identified, the technician may apply the wrong solution, which wastes time or maybe even worsen the issue. So, our suggestion is we could try to reproduce the problem to understand it better, check if the issue happens to one device or multiple devices, or verify basic things first, such as if the cable is plugged in or the Wi Fi is turned on.
Next, I'm going to present part B, problem 2, that is establish a theory of probable cause. At this stage, the technician needs to think logically and list all possible causes of the problem. It is important to start with the simplest and most common causes before considering more complex ones. What to do? List all possible causes. Start from simple causes. Example, loose cable. Next, use logical reasoning. Example, Wi-Fi is turned off, router not working, or network driver issue. Explanation. The steps helps narrow down the root cause and prevents random guessing. Additional suggestion and solutions is that firstly, divide causes into categories. For example, hardware, software, and network. The next is check recent changes, that is new software updates and hardware changes. Compare with other working systems is the last one. Additional suggestions and solutions.
Part B, we will talk about standard troubleshooting process. So for the third step is the test the theory. We check if our suspected cause is correct. First, we reconnect the printer using a different USB port to see if the issue is caused by a faulty port. Next, we try using another USB cable to check if the cable is damaged. We also install or update the printer drives to ensure the system can recognize the device properly. If the printer is detected after these steps, it confirms that the issue was caused by a connection or driver problems.
The fourth step into this process is that we have to establish a plan of action and implement the solution. So once the correct cause is confirmed, the technician should plan the best way to solve the problem and apply the solution carefully. So what we have to do? So the first step that we are going to do is choose the most effective solution that can help the problem to be solved efficiently. So the next step is to consider risks and possible side effects. This is just to be aware of what are the probable causes that can happen after the solution. And the third step is to apply the fix step by step. Each and every step matters a lot in terms of solving a problem. So for an example, reinstalling network drivers or restart the router can actually help solving the problem or implementing the solution. So it helps avoid causing additional problems during the fixing process. So besides that, the backup important data before making major changes can also be done following by proper procedures, especially for hardware repairs. And you can also use trusted tools or software in order to repair it properly and to avoid other further problems being occurred. Thank you.
So now I'm going to explain step 5, which is verifying full system functionality. So after applying the solution, the technician must ensure that the system is working properly and that no issues have been appeared. So what should the technician do is that they should test the system completely and check the performance and stability. For example, a technician must open website, test internet speeds, check connection stability, and so on. So what does this do is that this step confirms that the issue has been fully resolved and there has been no new issues occurred. So and what should a technician do after this is that he need to ask the user to confirm the issues are resolved, monitor system for a short period, and check related functions such as the if the internet works, test emails, browser downloads, and so on.
Next, step 6. Document findings, actions and outcomes. The final step is to record all details of the troubleshooting process for future reference. What to do? Write down the problem is the first point. The second point is record all the steps taken. The last point is note the final result. Example, Wi-Fi was disabled and then enabled to restore connection. Okay, the explanation is that documentation helps in solving similar problems faster in the future and improves overall efficiency. Additional suggestion and solution is that first, store records in logbook or system database. Second, include screenshot if necessary. Third one is to use clear and simple language for understanding. So that's all from me.
Final step is the troubleshooting process. We follow a structured method. First, we identify the problem by observing symptoms like unknown device, offline status, and no detection sound. Then, we determine possible cause such as driver issue, USB port failure, or cable damage. Next, we test our theory by checking connections and reinstalling drivers. After that, we implement the solution such as replacing the cable or updating the driver. Finally, we verify the printer is detected and working normally. This process helps ensure the problem is solved effectively and prevents it from happening again. So, in conclusion, for part B, I take example from problem 3, that is printer is not detected. So, I use this method, standard troubleshooting method, to find the possible symptoms that causes the problem.
Part C, we are going to solve the problems we talked about earlier by using the standard troubleshooting methodology. So I'm going to take problem 1 as an example and try to solve it using the same 6-step process we discussed earlier. So my problem was it was unable to access the internet. So it is a type of a network issue and the possible cause could be a misconfigured IP address or a faulty route. So how do we test this? So we ping the default gateway to check the IP config to check IP status. And how could we solve this issue by we could either restart the router or reset the TCP IP stack using net IP reset.
So next, for part C, I'm going to present about the problem system is running extremely slow. Type of issue, software or hardware. Possible causes, too many background processes or overheating CPU. Testing method, use task manager to check CPU, RAM usage. Check temperatures. And the suggest solution is that close unnecessary startup apps or clean dust from the cooling fans. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So for part C, I will explain printer not detected. So for the problem is that the computer is unable to detect the connected printer, so it cannot be used for printing tasks. And the type of issue is both hardware and software because it may involve physical connection problems or system related errors. The possible cause includes a faulty or loose USB cable or a USB port that is not working properly. It also can be caused by missing or outdated printer drives. And the testing method is to unplug the printer into another USB port to check if the port is the issue. We also connect the printer to another computer to confirm whether the problem is within the printer or the original system. So the suggested solution is to reinstall or update the printer drives so the system can recognize the device if the issue is hardware related. We can replace the faulty USB cable or use a working USB port. By following these steps, we can identify the root cause and ensure the printer is properly detected and functioning.
Let's look into the fourth problem now. So what type of issue is this? So, as we can see, this is a computer power failure and it's also is a hardware failure. So what is the possible cause that this can happen? So this can happen is because that there is a faulty power supply unit, or also can be called as PSU, or overheating CPU or system. So how we can test this method? So we can check the PSU fan and the power output, and we can inspect for burning smell or heat just to configure that there is any overheating or that's any burning or not. So the solution that we can use here is that we can repeat the faulty PSU or clean dust from fans and improve the cooling, or in my opinion we can add like another fan to keep the computer much more cooling and to avoid overheating issues. Thank you.
In conclusion, this case study highlights the importance of identifying and troubleshooting computer hardware and peripheral issues effectively. From the problems we discussed, such as the printer not detected, system is slow, and so on, we can see that the smallest issue like driver errors or faulty connections can significantly affect system performance and user productivity. By following a structured troubleshooting process, starting from identifying the symptoms, testing the possible causes, and implementing solutions, we are able to resolve problems in a systematic and effective way. Overall, this case study helps improve our understanding of real-world technical issues and strengthens our problem-solving skills in IT support. So, this is me and my team's conclusion. So, we will wrap it up here, and thank you for listening to our case study presentation. Thank you.